Chapter 18, Reconstruction and the Changing South. Specifically, we want to look at the impact of the Civil War amendments. Now, what were the Civil War amendments? Well, you will find out. So, as you can see, if I zoom in on the recording section, I have already done an audio recording of this, but if you wanted to just sit back and watch this video and learn a little bit more about the Civil War amendments, that's fine. Now, following the Civil War, 3 amendments were made to the Constitution, and those were the 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendments, and these have come to be known as the Civil War Amendments because of A, their subject matter, and B, the proximity that they were signed into law towards the end of the Civil War. Now that Southern states were once again part of the Union, part of the United States, these amendments were passed to protect the rights of former slaves. So we have the 13th Amendment, which banned slavery throughout the United States. Here's a little picture of it. So the 13th Amendment banned slavery throughout the United States. The 15th Amendment guarantees all citizens equal protection of the laws to the United States and forbids states to deprive anyone of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So basically it says everyone that is a citizen is guaranteed equal rights. So that was a big one. Then the 15th Amendment forbids any state to deny any citizen the right to vote based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. So we have the 13th Amendment, which grants freedom to all slaves. 14th Amendment, which grants freedom under the law to all citizens. And then the 15th Amendment, the freedom to vote regardless of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Now, I want you to think, what of these amendments, what would make them so important to Americans living at that time? Do you think that these amendments are important now? And which of these do you think is the most important? So our video is going to go into a little bit more detail about the formation of these amendments and what they meant to the country directly following the Civil War.
The American Civil War brought about many important changes to the nation, including some new amendments to the Constitution. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments are called the Reconstruction Amendments, since they put into law certain conditions resulting from the Civil War.
The Civil War Amendments, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, come about almost as a requirement for the South to come back into the Union. The 3 of them taken together are concerned with the issues of slavery.
The 13th Amendment put an end to slavery in America. It states, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, shall exist. The 14th Amendment has become one of the most important parts of the Constitution. It's divided into 4 sections. The purpose of Section 1 is to make citizens of former slaves. It states, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Section 1 goes on to establish this important doctrine. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law. The scope of the 14th Amendment has broadened since it was written. It now gives citizen rights to all who have come to America from other countries once they become naturalized citizens, and it ensures that fair legal methods are used when a person's life, liberty, or property is in question. The Due Process of Law Clause is generally regarded as being protection against violation on the state level of individual rights which are guaranteed in the Bill of Rights.
The due process of law clause is located two places in the Constitution, in the Fifth Amendment and in the 14th Amendment, one applying to the national government in the Fifth Amendment and one applying to the states. Due process means that one has the process due to them. The courts have ruled it means procedural regularity and fundamental fairness, and requires that systematically each of us is treated the same in the eyes of the law. The courts don't make any distinctions about us, whether we're rich or poor, black or white, male or female. There's also a large body of law dealing with what's called substantive due process, that the substance of the law in and of itself can't treat us unfairly, that laws can't make in their substance distinctions about us that are unfair.
The final phrase of Section 1 is one of the most important in the Constitution, that as citizens we all will have equal protection of the laws. Whatever rights are given or rules made, they must be the same for everyone.
The 14th Amendment guarantees numerous rights. Probably the most important part of the 14th Amendment is that it applies directly to the states, meaning that states cannot infringe the rights of American people. Previously, the First Amendment, for example, says Congress shall make no law. The 14th Amendment says no state shall. And what that means is the 14th Amendment, in applying to the states, limits the state's ability to hurt the American people.
Sections 2, 3, and 4 of the 14th Amendment are now obsolete. They had to do with a change in the way the census was taken, punishment of Southern congressmen who rebelled against the Union prior to the Civil War, and the denial of the government to honor debts incurred by the Southern states in their rebellion against the North. The 15th Amendment represents a very important step forward for our country. It gives the right to vote to citizens regardless of their race, color, or previous condition of servitude. This amendment was specifically meant to grant voting privileges to slaves who became free following the Civil War, but it extends the right to vote to all men regardless of race or color. Notice we said all men. At this point in our nation's history, women were still denied the right to vote. It's a serious problem that wasn't corrected for another 50 years.
Now, I do have all three of these amendments written out here, as well as descriptions of the amendments. So I want you to review the actual text of the amendments and the notes on them. And all of these notes come from the usconstitution.net, and they give background to each of the amendments. And as you can see, I've highlighted different areas in the notes section. Those notes, or the highlighted areas, are the actual descriptions of the amendments. So you can see like the history behind them, and then the actual amendment and how that fits in there. Which brings us to our assignment. This is a fun one, because in this, I want you to create a poster. You choose one of the amendments, either the 13th, the 14th, or the 15th Amendment. You're going to create a poster, and in your poster, you need to include the key ideas of that amendment. So if you're doing it on the 13th Amendment, it would be the key ideas of the 13th Amendment. Show why that amendment is important to Americans. Use drawings, images, and words. And you can also try and show how it's important today. So how is it important then? How is it important now? And since I don't have a classroom to display all of your artwork, I will be displaying it behind me on the back wall there. So here is the a breakdown of the rubric that will be used to grade your projects. So I'll be looking for half of your grade is actually going to be for the graphics, if they're relevant and how they are used. the layout, if it looks nice, if it's not just scratched, and then if it actually has all the required information, if it's actually about the Civil War amendments and not about McDonald's, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised. So I do want you to use graphics, but this is not an art class. I am not an art teacher. I tend to draw using stick figures, so I'm not expecting the Mona Lisa or some great work of art, but I do want you to take your time and to do your best. Don't just throw some squiggles down on a piece of paper. I want something that shows that you've put forth effort and you've really looked into all three of these amendments and chosen which one you think is the most important. So this is a cool assignment, and I really enjoy seeing the posters that are created from this. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. But for all of you in the future, if you do have questions, please come and find me, and I look forward to seeing your artwork.